The Static Child. Wilkins County wasn't on any GPS, and if you asked the locals, they'd either shrug or mutter, "That place ain't real." But Danny Cry was living proof that it was. The farmhouse he inherited from his reclusive great uncle Marvin stood isolated among the cornfields that whispered when there was no wind. Danny had never met Marvin, only heard tales of his erratic behavior, pilling old radios in the attic, recording the same time slot every night, locking doors with rusted chains. He laughed it off as eccentric until he found Marvin's journal, written in fractured panic scribbles. The child is made of signal. He feeds on grief. Do not answer. Danny chalked it up to insanity until the voices began. On July 9th, Danny heard static, faint, but under the hiss was something else, soft, whispering. He checked the tapes, labeled by Marvin. Same sound, same time. The next night at 3:33 a.m., the radio turned on by itself. I'm cold. The air dropped. Frost on the windows. Static bled from every speaker. His phone, laptop, even a dusty baby monitor he found under the sink clicked on. Are you my daddy? Danny unplugged everything, but the sound remained. Danny started seeing things. Flickers and mirrors. A child's silhouette standing just out of view. He installed security cameras. The footage caught a warped figure in the hallway, glitching in and out like a corrupted file. The eyes were black voids, the skin like television snow. He drove to town for help, but the exit road curved back to his driveway every time. Locals ignored him. At the gas station, the attendant simply said, "He chose you." On July 11th, Danny found a tape labeled Danny, Final Broadcast. Inside was his own voice, not a scream, but chanting. Single is mother, signal is child. Let him through. The tape ended with the child's voice joyful now. You'll be warm soon. Danny didn't sleep that night. The house groaned. Walls bled dark liquid. Every photo on his phone replaced with the same image. His bedroom, taken from the ceiling, and in each one the static child grew closer. At 3:33 a.m., he heard a knock. The front door opened without him touching it. The cameras caught this. Danny walked outside in a trance. The field shimmered with white noise. A small figure held his hand. Together they vanished into the static horizon. The farmhouse is abandoned now. Locals say it's cursed, but sometimes on stormy nights, WKX 1043 flickers to life, static, then a voice. Are you my daddy? You should be warned. Story 2. The Reflection Room. They say there is a room in the Briarwood Psychiatric Hospital that doesn't exist on any blueprint. Room 3D. It was sealed off in 1982 after an incident that no one officially talks about, but the locals whisper about it. They say if you ever find yourself inside it, you'll never leave the same way you entered. Dr. Evelyn Sharp had worked at Briarwood for 3 years, researching cognitive hallucinations. She was smart, skeptical, and didn't believe in ghost stories or urban legends. That changed on August 4th, when she was handed a patient file she swore never existed. Patient, Miles Trainer. Diagnosis, fragmented identity disorder. But the file was odd. It was handwritten, on faded paper with smudged ink. It referenced sessions in room 3D. Evelyn asked around. No one had heard of Miles or the room. But the next morning, her ID badge granted access to the hallway she swore hadn't been there before. Room 3D was ice cold. One wall was entirely made of mirrors, not glass. Mirrors. But they didn't show Evelyn. They showed someone else, a man, sitting in her chair, writing her notes, blinking her eyes. She blinked, so did he. Evelyn tried to leave, but the door was gone. Her watch ticked backwards. Her phone was dead. Her reflection whispered, "You're the echo. I'm the real." She woke up in her office, drenched in sweat, but her notes were updated with words she didn't write. Session 12 complete. Evelyn complaint. Mayor stable. Evelyn compliant. Mayor stable. She tried to report it, but the hospital director brushed it off. That room hasn't existed in 40 years. He showed her sealed floor plans. No room, 3D. A week later, Evelyn found a voice memo on her recorder. It was her voice, but pleading. "I'm not the reflection, I'm me. Let me out." Then Miles' trainer appeared in the lobby. No one had called him. He insisted Evelyn had summoned him. He was calm, too calm. He smiled at her and whispered, "Thank you for switching. I like your world better." She blacked out. When she awoke, she was in room 3D, but now was outside the mirror, watching her own body walk away. Her voice echoed inside the walls. "I'm the echo. I'm not real." Story 3. The apartment below. When Maya moved into Unit 5C of Ellison Towers, it was supposed to be a fresh start. The building was old, tucked into a quiet corner of Chicago, with creaky pipes and faded wallpaper, but she didn't mind. She needed solitude. Her neighbor below, Unit 4C, was supposed to be vacant. The landlord confirmed it. It had been empty for years, but on her first night, Maya heard someone pacing. She tried to ignore it. Old buildings make noise, but the pacing became knocking, then sobbing, always at 2:17 a.m. On night 3, Maya put her ear to the floor. The sobs turned to whispers. "Maya, why do you leave me here?" She jumped back, her name clear, cold. She called the landlord again. "That unit's sealed off. There's no one in 4C. He let her look. The door to 4C had 5 deadbolts. Inside was empty. Dust shook, but something was written on the wall in red marker. "I still remember everything." Maya didn't sleep that night. A week later, a box appeared on her door. No label. Inside were cassette tapes. Old ones, each labeled with a date and her name. Maya 2/17/99, Maya 2/17/2000, and so on. She didn't recognize them. She hadn't even lived in this city until last month. She played one. It was her voice, as a child. "He's in the basement. He talks to me through the vent." She cried out when the tape ended in static, then laughter. Deep male. She played another. "Mom doesn't believe me. He says he'll come upstairs soon." She called her mother. Her mom was silent, then muttered, "We don't talk about Ellison Towers. You promised." Maya hadn't spoken to her mother in 5 years. She dug through journals. No mention of Ellison Towers, but newspaper archives revealed something horrifying. A child named Maya Jenkins had gone missing in 2003. Found days later, silent, changed. Her family moved away, but she was 8. Her picture was her exactly. Am I the address? Unit 5C? Ellison Towers? Her nose began to bleed. That night, the knocking returned. "Come downstairs, Maya. Finish what we started." Her apartment door creaked open on its own. The hallway was dark. A trail of cassette tapes wound down the stairs like spilled ribbon. She followed. Unit 4C was unlocked. The inside was different now. Walls covered in photos. All of Maya, of different ages. Watching, some showed her sleeping. One was taken from the ceiling. Each photo, the same shadow stood behind her, and an elongated figure with no eyes, just a grin. The mirror in 4C didn't reflect her. It showed a version of herself, younger, twitching, smiling. The figure stood beside her. "You came back! We're whole now!" She screamed, but no sound came out, and then she opened her eyes, back in 5C. Maya still lives in Ellison Towers, but neighbors say she's different now. She doesn't blink. Her TV only plays static, and sometimes late at night, people hear a child laughing beneath the floorboards. They say Unit 4C is sealed again, but if you press your ear on the door, you hear something whispering, "I still remember everything." The 13th Trail. For hikers in the Adirondacks, there's an unwritten rule: never follow a trail marker with 13 notches. No maps mention it, no ranger acknowledges it, but some say it appears on foggy mornings and vanishes by dusk. Brandon Welder was a trail enthusiast with a taste for the obscure. When he heard whispers about the unlisted trail from a half-drunk fisherman at Pine Lake, he was intrigued. "You don't find the 13th Trail," the man slurred. "It finds you. If it shows itself, don't follow." Brandon naturally did the opposite. On October 13th, under mist-thick skies, Brandon spotted it, a wooden post with 13 deep carvings, withered and moss-streaked. Beyond it stretched a trail darker than the rest, twisted trees forming a tunnel of shadow. Brandon stepped in. At first it was silent, peaceful. Then the forest changed. The birds stopped singing. Footsteps echoed, but he wasn't walking. Something behind him was. He turned. Nothing. But the trail had changed. Trees were rearranged. A second notch post appeared, then a third. The forest wasn't just haunted. It was shifting. He found a red scarf tied around a low branch, then a shoe, then a child's backpack. Each item rotten, chewed, half sunk in the soil. Then he saw it, a figure ahead, wrapped in fog, tall, thin, with limbs that bent wrong. It stood beneath the 12th notch post. When Brandon blinked, it was gone. But now the 13th marker loomed again. He was back at the start, except the trees were wrong. The air smelled sour, and now there were 13 crows perched above him, watching. One spoke. 13 entered. 12 left. Brandon ran. He stumbled in a clearing that looked familiar, too familiar. A log, a broken compass, and the same rotten backpack. He had walked in circles. Or worse, he hadn't walked at all. He checked his GPS. No signal. Battery at 13%. Then a whisper curled around his neck like smoke. "You followed. You were chosen." The forest breathed. Branches snapped behind him. He sprinted, gasping until the trees opened up. Sunlight, civilization, but the trail was gone. No post, no notch, only a single crow perched on his car, staring at him. Brandon made it home, but every time he closes his eyes, he dreams of the trail, the crow, the 13th marker. He stopped hiking, and then, the last week, he found a wooden post behind his shed, freshly carved, 13 notches.